Ever feel like you're kind of drowning in stuff?
Yeesh,
You
yeah.
know, like closets overflowing, that one chair, maybe it's the back of a chair piled with clothes. They're not quite dirty,
Hmm.
but not exactly clean either.
Yeah.
Well, you're not alone.
Yeah.
We're diving deep into minimalism today, going way beyond just those picture-perfect, bare, white rooms you see online.
It's wild how much minimalism has blown up lately. I mean, it went from this niche design thing to like a whole philosophy of life, how we live, how we shop, even how we think.
Right. And our sources actually trace it way back to mid-20th century artists like Donald Judd, those super stark installations,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
or architect Ludwig mies van der Rohe, I like those iconic buildings, simple forms, open spaces, stripping things down to the bare minimum.
And that's where his famous quote comes in, right? Less is more. Sums up that whole minimalist look. But it's amazing how it went from like museums and fancy galleries straight into our homes.
Okay, so it's not just about having an apartment ready for its magazine close-up. How does minimalism work for regular people, in the chaos of everyday life?
Well, think about it. We're constantly bombarded, right? Ads, information overload, the pressure to buy the latest gizmo. Minimalism is like this breath of fresh air, a way to cut through the noise and just focus on what truly matters. It's about choosing what you let into your life, physically, digitally, even mentally.
You mentioned all that stuff we feel pressured to buy. Reminds me, the source talked about overconsumption as a big reason people are drawn to minimalism. It's like this relief from always having to buy stuff we don't even need.
Totally. And that feeds right into the environmental impact, too. Consume less, smaller environmental footprint, better for the planet. But it goes deeper. Minimalism can seriously impact your mental well-being. Decluttered space, decluttered mindless stress, more peace.
It's funny you mentioned the mental side. I was just reading a study, Journal of Environmental Psychology, found that people with cluttered homes had way higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol.
Makes sense, right? Visually, less clutter just lets your brain chill out a bit, like a mental break from processing everything.
So more than just tossing old t-shirts, it's being picky about what's around you and how that affects your headspace. Making space for what matters, experiences, relationships, growing as a person.
Exactly. Shifting from stuff to experiences, finding your own fulfillment. And this crosses cultures too. Minimalist design, clean lines, being functional, or that whole digital minimalism thing that's getting big.
Oh, digital minimalism. I'm still trying to get a handle on that one. What does that actually look like day to day?
Basically, it's being mindful of how you use tech, like curating your online experience, picking quality over quantity, what apps, what you read, even who you follow.
Reclaiming your time and attention, which are super valuable these days. But it's not like deprivation and strict rules, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be room for fun,
Yeah.
making it your own within minimalism.
Totally. That's where the good stuff happens. Minimalism isn't some rigid box to fit into. It's finding what lights you up and building your life around that.
So it's about you designing your ideal life, not some magazine telling you what it should be.
Exactly. Finding freedom and keeping it simple. Isn't that something we'd all like a bit more of?
Definitely. But nothing's perfect, right? The source did bring up some criticisms of minimalism we should probably unpack. Like some people say it's not as accessible as it sounds.
Really important point. The whole minimalist aesthetic online can look pretty aspirational, even exclusive. Realistically, not everyone has the money or the opportunities to just pare down like that.
Right. Minimizing a wardrobe might be easy for some folks, but if you rely on those clothes for work or have limited storage space, that's a whole other story.
And the emotional piece matters too. Belongings can be tied to memories, to culture, to feelings. Letting go isn't always simple, and that's okay.
So got to be aware of those nuances. There's no one-size-fits-all minimalism. It's about figuring out what works for your life, your situation.
Exactly. Progress, not perfection.
I love that. Focus on the good that simplifying can bring, not getting hung up on rules or comparing yourself to others.
Exactly. Focus on the good that simplifying can bring, not getting hung up on rules or comparing yourself to others.
It's refreshing to hear that because I feel like some people get kind of intimidated by this whole minimalism thing. They see those like crazy, pristine minimalist homes online and they're like, oh, no way, that's not going to work for me. I could never pull that off.
Oh, I totally get that. It's easy to get caught up in the visuals, right? But the real heart of minimalism is intentionality. Making those choices on purpose because they match what you care about.
So less about like achieving some perfect Instagram picture, more about figuring out what fits for you in your own life.
Exactly. It's about progress, not perfection. Taking those baby steps, making small changes that actually stick.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So someone's listening, they're into this minimalism idea, but like, where do they even start?
Start with why. Why minimalism? What are you hoping to get out of it? Once you figure that out, those motivations, you can start making choices that line up.
So get clear on your why before you go full-on Marie Kondo on your entire house.
Right. And it doesn't have to be this massive purge either. You can totally ease into it. Pick one tiny area, like a drawer, a shelf, just a corner of a room, and just simplify that.
Okay, that's doable.
Yeah.
What about digital stuff, though? We talked about digital minimalism, but that feels like a whole other beast. How do you even begin to tackle that?
Yeah, can be overwhelming for sure. But same principles, really. Start by just noticing your digital habits. How much time on your phone every day? Which apps are you glued to? Are they actually adding something to your life or just sucking the time out of it?
I know I'm guilty of the mindless scroll.
Oh, we all are. It's so easy to get sucked in.
Yeah.
But once you see how you're using tech, you can be more deliberate. Maybe it's setting screen time limits, unsubscribing from emails that aren't doing anything for you, even being more intentional about who you're following online.
It's like taking back control instead of letting our phones control us.
Exactly. Remembering that technology is a tool. Like any tool, it can be helpful or not. Depends how we use it. It's our choice.
We've talked about decluttering our stuff, our online lives, but what about our minds? Can minimalism help us find, like, inner peace,
Yeah.
that sense of well-being?
Such a good question, and one that doesn't get enough attention. One of the coolest things about minimalist living is the peace it can bring. When you're not drowning in stuff or digital noise, your mind is free to actually relax, be present.
Like giving your brain permission to just chill out, take a break from all the stimulation.
Exactly. And when your mind is calmer, less cluttered, you can focus on what matters, your people, your passions, that creative spark. You literally make space for inspiration, for joy to come into your life.
It's funny because when I think of people who are into minimalism, they always seem so calm, so grounded.
It's totally connected. Minimalism isn't about going without. It's about making room for what truly matters. And when you align your life with those values, peace and contentment, it just kind of flows naturally.
So bigger than a clean house or an organized inbox, it's like a whole mindset shift toward being more intentional about how you live.
Exactly. Living in line with what you care about. Creating a life that feels real and meaningful to you.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of what minimalism is.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, what's one thing personally you've gotten from bringing these minimalist ideas into your own life?
That's a great question. For me, it's been the gift of time and mental clarity. Letting go of the stuff that wasn't serving me, it made room for things that do bring me joy. Being in nature, spending time with people I love, having space for my creative side.
It sounds like you found freedom, purpose, just
Right.
from simplifying.
Absolutely. And that's what I hope listeners take away. Minimalism isn't about following rules. It's about creating a life that feels real to you. Finding freedom in simplicity, finding joy right here, right now.
That's a powerful message and a great reminder that how we live our lives, that choice, it's ours to make. That's so true, that it's our choice. It's easy to forget when, like you said, the message is always, you need more to be happy, get more, more, more.
It's everywhere, right? Buy this gadget, you'll be happy. Get the perfect wardrobe, then you'll be content.
Yeah.
But minimalism, it kind of reminds you that real happiness comes from inside, from figuring out what you value and then actually living that way.
So it's not about, like, never buying anything nice ever again. More about being thoughtful, really paying attention to what actually sparks joy for you and being okay letting go of the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shifting from those like quick hits of pleasure to something deeper, longer lasting, putting your energy into experiences, relationships, personal growth, that's stuff you can't just buy.
You've given us so much to think about today, honestly.
Yep.
But before we let you go, any final thoughts? Maybe a question we can leave our listeners with, something to get that minimalist spark going.
How about this? As you go through your day today, just notice, when do you feel most at peace? Content? Truly happy? Are those moments tied to stuff? Or are they about something more, connection, purpose, that creative spark? The answer might surprise you.
I love that. I think that's the perfect note to end on, paying attention to what truly matters. Thanks so much for this awesome deep dive into minimalism. It's been really eye-opening. And for our listeners, keep an eye out for our next deep dive coming soon.